Hello everybody, to all our BPTV fans and YouTube fans. I'm Alan Levine, the Talking Machine. Welcome to our second Alan Levine, the Talking Machine show. And I'm honored to have a great guest. I'll interview him right now. I'll give a little blurb on him. He's the head coach, baseball coach of CMU, Carnegie Mellon University. He's been doing that for years, and he's also an entrepreneur and does a lot of great things in the Pittsburgh area. I won't talk much about his scouting unless he wants to, and coaching, we will talk about that. And let me introduce Claudio. Claudio, welcome to my show.
Alan, thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it. And you do great work, and I'm glad you got another show going on.
Thank you, thank you. I'm honored to do this. Dave Cable suggested I start interviewing anybody, but I'm bringing a sports guy on. I had a woman, a great woman, businesswoman, an entrepreneur, Joanne Forrester, and we had a great interview then. Yeah. I'm looking forward to this because you teased me with a book. Yeah. But I got to get some information about you. You've been on my show numerous times, I think at least 5, 6, 7 times over the years.
With my team, too.
Yes, and they were some of the greatest interviews that I've had. I'll share that with you, and I've done a bunch of them. Just some of them were just great. Yes. And to know they don't get scholarships and to put in the effort, it's the love of the game. And talking about you, I know you have the love of baseball. Where did you grow up?
Swickley.
Okay.
Same house.
You're kidding. I was going to ask. I had a feeling on that.
56 years.
Nice.
But everything's good. Yeah, I've been there all my life, and I love it there for sure.
And what was your grade school that you went to?
Quaker Valley. Went to Quaker Valley. Then I became head coach there in 1988. So I started as a player and ended up coaching there at age 23.
This is one of the coolest guys I know because my first love was baseball. I always wanted to play, and I was a pitcher and became good at it, but I always wanted to coach and all that, never did it. Got too caught up into my work.
I was lucky that after high school, went to go play college ball, got hurt. Then my coach, Rich Woznicki, said, why don't you just come coach with me as an assistant? So I started at age 18.
What a break.
Yeah, and then, well, it's kind of another break. He got into a car accident.
Ooh.
And then he called me in the office one day. He said, you know what, I have to get surgery. I want you to be the head coach. And I said, why? And I said, okay, I'll be ready. So I was 23 years old, got my first head coaching job, and I was the youngest one at WPIL at the time. And
wow.
It was a very special year. Had special players, and unfortunately, though, several months later.
You went to Quaker Valley High School?
Yeah.
So this is what a tie-in with that.
Yeah, and then was assistant, then head coach. And then our season was over in May, but then my mom passed in October of '88. But at least she got to see me coaching at Quaker Valley. So
no, that's great. Yeah. That's great because I do want to talk about your family a little bit because you brought up how great they are. And one regret I have in meeting you is you're great, your family and daughter are great, but I would have loved to meet your parents.
And they would have loved to have met you. I always say people who were my mom and dad always appreciated people who were kind to me like you and Smoke and Jim, and so I appreciate that.
That's both of our best friends.
Smoke
and Jim Frazier. There's nobody better.
The best.
Now, your parents, who helped you with baseball?
Well, it's a good question. Both my parents were from Italy, and my dad came here when he was 8. My mom came here when she was 21, 22.
Wow.
And they were both. My mom was a boxing and soccer fan.
Well, tell our Italian fans where they're from exactly, because that's important.
It is.
I grew up with all Italians, so
we're
I know.
From Calabria, to narrow it down. My dad was from a place called Falerna. My mom was from a place called Nuceda Terinese in Calabria.
And thank you for that.
Yep, thank you for asking. and so like I said, my mom was in the soccer and boxing. My dad was in the boxing. So that's the only sports I watched, right? But then my uncle used to work at Three River Stadium.
Wow, as an usher.
No, he worked in the Allegheny Club. He was a general manager of the Allegheny
I remember
Club.
that club.
Yeah, so he used to take me down to the locker rooms, and that's where I met all those guys back in the 70s, like Rooker and Stennett and Candelaria and all those guys.
That's so cool.
It is, and I still have a relationship with all those guys, which is nice. But I was 8 years old, and the first game I went to was August 19th, 1973. I knew the day.
My dad's birthday, August 19th, 1931.
We were talking about birthdays outside.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another coincidence.
Yeah. So, but I knew what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. He took me down to locker rooms. I walked onto the field by myself and
Yeah.
saw that big empty stadium, and something was going on with me.
It clicked.
Wow, it clicked. And this was before the game even started. And then I came home, and my dad said, "Did you have a good time?" I said, "I did." I said, "But I think I don't want to do it the rest of my life." He said, "What's that?" So I would be in professional baseball. I was 8. And he said, "Okay."
Just like that.
Just like that. He said, "If that's what you want to do, me and your mom will do everything we can to give you every opportunity in the world to make your dreams come true." My dad was here. I was here. My mom was right over there. And she said, "Yep, whatever you want to do,
What
we'll be
great
there for you."
parents.
I tell you what, there's an old saying, an old Italian saying, if you ever see a turtle on top of a fence post, you know he didn't get there alone. So wherever it is I'm at in life, if it wasn't for my parents, guaranteed luck. I would not have the life I have today, for sure.
No, that's
Best
great.
parents in the
I
world.
give my parents all the credit in the world. You know, my mother died in 1988 due to complications of Alzheimer's, like I told you.
My mom was 1988,
Yeah,
October.
August 17th. So,
yeah. She
very
was-
sad.
my mom
She was the
48.
nicest person I ever met.
Yeah.
And you know, I know a lot of nice people like you and others. She was the nicest.
Yeah, it's tough when that happens. Like I said, my mom was only 48, came unexpectedly, and
That's
that
so
was hell.
sad.
That was
Yeah,
hell. And
that's
when
tough.
she passed, a piece of me passed. And
Do you have brothers or sisters?
Not really, no.
Okay, I just thought I'd ask
Not re-
because I've never heard anything.
I'm
So
the
we'll go with that.
I'm the only one to my mom and dad. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Just checking.
yeah, it's good.
I got.
How'd you like my answer, though? Not really. That's like when you ask somebody, "Are you pregnant?" Well, kind of. How the hell are you kind of pregnant, right? How do you have kind of
Well,
siblings?
if you notice, I'm pretty direct on questions.
okay.
I let that go.
That's all right.
I let that go, and we'll
That's
move
good.
forward
That's
with that. So basically, you were an only child. Both your parents were supporting you,
Yeah.
100% or
Very much.
110%
Yeah.
to be a success.
Yeah, they were, like I said, no matter what I needed. My dad owned a landscaping business. He worked in the mill years prior, but
Sure.
whatever I needed, I had. And my mom was always there for me. But the thing they did most for me was just believe in me.
Sure.
And they supported me. And they just believed that I could do anything. And they, like I said, I
They
was
help
8.
promote you do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, when you have people that love you and care for you so much, and are going to back you no matter what, and I always have to tell this story, and I don't know, I think I included it in the book, but anyway,
Yeah.
it was my mom passed, and I had some family members who weren't so nice, and
Sure.
didn't want me to do anything in life. You know, they were always putting me down and things like that. I was never going to make it.
It seems we all have that in families.
Yeah, I had a lot of it though, and it hurt because I care for these people. But anyway,
Right.
I remember being at the casket, and I remember just saying, you know what, the hell with baseball. I could care less about baseball. I'm just done. And
Really?
Yeah, I was
Wow.
done. And then my dad, I'll never forget, he came over and he put his hand, he had these thick hands, he put his hand on my hand. He said, "I know what you're thinking." He said, "But you can't."
Oh.
That's what he said. And there's my mom, you know, and
Yeah.
and he said, "You promised her that you'd give this dream of ours all you could." He said, "She didn't quit. You can't quit." And I swear to you, Al, as soon
Yeah.
as he said that, it was like, you know, you start hearing the Rocky theme. It's
Yeah.
okay. And I remember grabbing my mom's hand and I say, "I promised you that I wouldn't quit. And I
I'll
won't."
honor you. Yes.
Yeah, and I'll honor you, right?
Yeah.
And you know, hopefully I have. And you know, you still.
Let me tell you, Mom, he has done a good job.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Definitely, in my eyes, my opinion.
And I appreciate that. And I got to say, again, my mom passed October 8th, then of 1988. It was also my dad's birthday.
Ooh.
Then fast forward to 1990 when I was head coach at Penn State Beaver. We won the championship, which is I got this ring.
Yes.
And I made damn sure that they put the date on it, 10/8/1990.
Sure, it means something.
And I remember during the game, we were up 12-0. We were going to win the championship.
What a feeling.
But I start crying. I always wear sunglasses when I cry. I mean, when I coach. But
Yeah.
And why was I crying? Because my dad was sick and he couldn't make the game, and my mom obviously wasn't there. But then, you know, all of a sudden it hit me. So you know what? She is seeing the game. She does see it. And my dad, as soon as I call him, you know, as soon as I called him and told him we won, then it felt like a championship.
Yeah.
But so I try to honor them in every way humanly possible.
No, and that's
We
so
named my
cool.
daughter after my mom, Ida.
Yeah.
Like I said, I always try to honor both my parents.
No, that's nice because I grew up in the same type of family
Oh, I know you did,
with
yeah.
3 sisters, legitimately. So, and they're
Well,
all
no, I had legit. My dad's first wife and him, she passed, unfortunately. He had 2 kids with her.
okay.
And
I knew I'd get it out of you.
I mean, no, you know, it was one of those things that, unfortunately, you know, the relationship was
happen in life.
okay.
Yeah.
Things happen in life, and you know, for whatever reason, they felt the way they felt, and then like I always say, Shakespeare said, "You tickle me, I laugh; you prick me, I bleed." Well,
Yeah.
maybe they prick me a little bit too much, and so I have the feelings I have. But
I can understand
it.
it. I've heard worse stories than that. Thanks for being kind.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Yeah.
that. We'll move on from that. So your dad wasn't there and he was sick.
Yeah.
And did he pass then?
No.
Okay, I was
No.
just
What
checking.
happened was, my dad, in 1969, developed a phobia where he couldn't go far places.
Oh, okay.
He was also told he was going to go blind and had emphysema that same year.
Oh,
So
my
everything just hit
goodness.
him. My dad went through a hell of a lot.
Sure.
Really went through a lot. But long story short, if he was here now, he would tell you. Now, he passed in 2004.
Okay.
Never went blind, never had emphysema. And he did eventually break through that phobia and was able to go to my games and
Oh,
come to
really? So
Pittsburgh
he
and-
enjoyed your
Oh,
coaching
yeah,
and
yeah.
teams and
He-
meeting
he-
players and
Yes,
all that
yeah.
stuff.
And
Great.
he broke out of that, I'd say, kind of about a year and a half, 2 years after my mom passed. But he still couldn't go that far to to main
Yeah, to
campus.
travel.
But he got a hell of a lot better. Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. Definitely.
And he would tell you the reason why he did it was because he wanted to watch me coach and support me and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, I get emotional thinking about it, talking about it. But
No, thanks for sharing it with
miss
us.
them. I miss my parents every second of the day, and I was lucky to have them. Incredibly blessed.
No, thank you for sharing this with my fans. You know, I like to get down deep and get the information out.
Yeah.
And I wanted to give a little background because, like I said, I admire what Claudio has been doing, and ever since that, we became instant friends. There was no doubt. We just were friends, and we just got along, and we've had great conversations. We've been to boxing matches when they're filming, when I'm filming, all kinds of things. So it's just great knowing you and the people that you do know.
I appreciate
it. And can we mention about your podcast that you do?
Yeah.
Because I'm a natural promoter.
And you were on the show?
Yes.
It's the Claudio Rosano show. I had to dream that one up. But I interview sports legends of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I've had Mario Andretti on, Roman Gabriel, Vince Ferragamo, Ken Griffey Sr., Jerry Cooney, Dick Vermeil,
I'm glad
Donnie
you-
Lalonde, Vinny Pazienza, and I also have friends on.
Right.
Talk sports yourself. Smoking Jim and Luther have
Thank
been
you.
on a ton.
I enjoyed that.
And you'll be back on again. And the show's going well. It's
And how long have you been doing it now?
118 or 120 episodes, I think. I want to say 2.5, 3 years.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was at least a couple years.
Yeah, about 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Like that,
No, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's going well, and like I said, to have those guests on that I've had, guys that I grew up watching. Sometimes I'm interviewing them, and I'm saying, "What the hell am I doing talking to Mario?"
Have you had
Andretti?"
Al Oliver on?
Yes, we've had Al Oliver on. Jim Rooker was my first guest. Sid Bream, Rennie Stennett.
Sid Bream, I did an Oaks
Yeah, I know.
interview
Yeah,
with him
yeah.
that went great. He's
Yeah,
one of
Sid's
the
a great guy.
nicest guys.
He sure is.
And he's a minister for a trucking company.
Wonderful person. I'm going
And
to see him Monday at a golf tournament.
You tell him
Wonderful.
I said hello.
I will for sure.
He's the best.
He is.
And even guys like Smoking Jim that didn't really know baseball said about the curse of Sid Bream.
Right.
They made that up later.
Right.
The poor guy had 6 knee operations, couldn't run anymore.
He can slide pretty good.
He did. He beat that Barry Bonds throw, who was
But-
out of position.
Yeah, that's right. But I've been lucky to have those kind of guests on, and then like I said, some of them are childhood heroes of mine, like a Ferragamo or Andretti, or
That is great.
And then to have friends like Vinny Pazienza, Donnie Lalonde, those
Yeah,
guys, it's a big deal. And it's like I said, even I'm talking to them and I said, "What in the world am I doing talking to this guy?" Even and some of them I've known since I was a kid, but it's still weird.
No, well, to
having them on
me,
my
I
show.
think it's great because you're a great interviewer.
Well, thank you.
We enjoy, the questions you ask, and you
Thanks.
put us on the spot about things. So I always appreciate that.
Thank you.
And Al Oliver should be in the Hall of Fame. I have
Yeah.
to share that because I became friends with him around when I first met him. He had called in on our show, and when we could have phone lines in, he did
Right.
call, and we talked to him. Then I got invited by a lady, Danielle Daniels. She was sponsoring the book that he had. He had a book signing at North Shore.
Right.
And I was there, and I got to sit with him for an hour or two.
Well, he's a deacon.
Yes.
Great guy who definitely should be in the Hall of Fame. When you said that real quick, I had David Jordan on. He wrote Dave Parker's new
Yes.
biography.
There's another guy.
I was shocked when he told me that the reason why he feels the reason why Dave Parker is not in the Hall of Fame is because his on-base percentage isn't good enough. And I'm saying, you got to be kidding me.
No.
Yeah, that's what he said. I mean, everybody thought maybe it was the trials or what have you. But he said that some of the voters don't like his on-base percentage. Dave Parker, in my opinion, was the best player that I ever saw with my own eyes.
Right.
Okay.
Well, didn't he have 5 years that were some of the best ever in baseball? Look,
He could hit,
was
run,
the
throw,
first.
field,
Let
power.
me give this little trivia. He was the first $1 million baseball player. Let me say that again. First $1 million baseball player. To me, that means something.
Sure.
I always thought it was more with the drug issues that
That's
come
what
up.
everybody thinks, but
Yes.
apparently they're
On
talking
base.
this. Which is totally ridiculous. And now Oliver, I mean, you look at his stats.
He should
If
be.
Harold, no offense to Harold Baines, if Harold Baines is in, Oliver should be in. If Jim Rice is in, Dave Parker should be in, because they're all similar.
I'm like you. I'm old school baseball. When you
And
look
those
at
two
that
guys
stuff,
didn't win World Series where Dave and Al did.
That means something.
Batting titles.
Right.
Yeah.
No doubt. But no,
Hopefully
it's a shame.
the Veterans Committee will get them in, I hope.
You can only hope.
Yeah.
You know, and he should be there.
Yeah, no question.
No doubt.
question.
Well, I'm glad we could share some of these stories because we're going to get into some real stories. I'm going to pick this book up.
All right.
Let me show this. Look at this book. Can you get a close-up on this? And I love the cover
Thank you. Thank you.
because even naming your podcast, Claudio Lozano, look at he's on the cover.
On the cover. On the cover.
That's how it should be. All right.
And the title came from my mom. My mom used to say, never speak from the neck up, speak from the heart up. So then I turned that around for the leadership thing to lead from the heart up, not the neck up. So,
That is so great. No, I love your attitude about things.
and that's yours too, by the way.
Oh,
I didn't sign it because the value would go down.
whoa. I'm going to keep this here, right in front.
There you go.
Why did you do it?
You know, I get to, that's the number one question. Why did I write it?
You know, I got to ask that.
No, that's a great question. A lot of, and I don't mean for this to come off in a bad way, but a lot of players come up to me from other programs in high school or college, and then they'll say, well, this happened or that happened, or I didn't get along with my coach, or I didn't like him, or he was hard on me. Not hard on me, but he wasn't fair. Or then I see other programs when I'm coaching my team, and how I see, you know what, and then not only in baseball or sports, but CEOs that I've talked to, and matter of fact, one of the biggest compliments I've had are a lot of businessmen who have read my book and sent me notes and said how it helped them. But why did I write it? I just want people to know that Dick Vermeil once said, and this is the theme of the book, your players, your people who work for you, whatever, they won't care how much you know till they know how much you care. And so you don't really have to be just a tough guy all the time. When you have to be, sure.
Right.
You know, but not just for the hell of it or just because you think that's the way a leader should be, you know. And
That's a great point.
yeah, so I wanted people to see, the first part of the book is stories that have happened to me, how I wasn't treated so well from some different coaches.
Give me one story.
There's a bunch of stories in there. Okay.
I want that one story
story.
that,
Well,
that affected
I was coaching
you like
in a game.
that. Yeah.
I was coaching a game. I was head coach, and I won't give away other titles, but I was the head coach.
I appreciate that.
I won't mention schools, but it was really close to. We were this game. If we win this game, then we're going to go to the postseason.
Okay.
Long story short, we had the game in hand, and this one particular higher up was throwing grapes at me.
Grapes.
I'm walking, pacing. I'm on third base coaching, and I get a grape hit me in the head. I'm saying, what the hell? First, then
That's
another one at my
outrageous.
feet. Outrageous. And then I'm walking around. There's grapes at my feet. And I know I'm Italian, and I know they make wine, but I wasn't making wine.
Right.
So then one hits me in the head again. So after the inning, I asked my assistant, Fred, who's throwing these grapes at me?
Yeah.
He said, I'll say at the end of the game. I said, no, you tell me now. Because I thought it was one of my players fooling around.
Sure.
It wasn't. It was a higher up who worked for this particular school. Why did he do it?
Yeah.
My opinion, jealousy makes you do all kind of crazy things. I had taken over for this guy, and I think he wanted to see me fail, whatever the hell the case was. And I'm not here to embarrass anybody or, but that's what happened to me.
Here, I got a theory on it because I worked in a production department and different things come up. I wouldn't have been friends with some of these guys, but I had to work with them.
Right.
And I said, I got a problem with some of these guys because they have envy. I call it the big three: envy, jealousy, and hate. And they go, how can you say that? You use hate. You're such a nice guy. I go, well, for some reason, some of these guys, I was negotiating contracts at 22.
Yeah.
And they hated me, but yet they voted to put me in.
Sure.
And here I found out they were like jealous because they were saying something to so-and-so. And what happened to you brought that thought to me. So sorry to interrupt your thing. But I believe it's a big three that causes that. The
you're
envy
right.
first, the jealousy, then the hate, was the action of throwing the grapes.
And there was another guy who, again, was just always terrible with me. We didn't get along as people.
Right.
He wasn't a good coach either, this other guy. But that's okay. But we just didn't get along. So I wrote some stories about that. And then I also wrote some stories of mistakes that I made as a coach. Not how I treated people, but one story.
Right.
So on my birthday, I want to say it was 2000.
How was your birthday?
October 14th.
Thank you.
Thank you. I was like 2007, 2008. And if we win this game at CMU, we're going to be the all-time. This team is going to win the most wins ever at CMU baseball, and I really wanted it for that team because it was a great group of guys.
Sure.
Right? Well, I heard them say we got to win this game for Coach. It's his birthday. I want to win for them. They want to win for me. We're losing 8-0. Then in the 5th inning, they make this rally. We come back and we tie the score up 8-8.
Wow.
Right? Everybody's going crazy. It's emotional, fans, everything. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I have something that a coach normally doesn't have time to do, and that is think. There's a pitching change. So I told the guy who hit the game-tying double, Brett, I said, Brett, come here. You're the game-winning run. We got 2 outs. I said, we have our leadoff hitter coming up, 2, 3, everybody's coming up. If it's hit to left field, I'm going to send you because he has no arm. And it's wet, but I'm sending you. If it goes to the center fielder, I'm sending you. But if it goes to right field, there's no way in hell I'm sending you because he's got a cannon. He's already thrown out a runner.
Right.
Plus, the field isn't as wet out there. Don't ask me why. It just wasn't.
Drainage, folks.
But you are not going. You hear what I said? Yeah, Coach. Brett, I'm serious. If it's hits right field, you stay here. You got it. Yeah, Coach, I got it. Well, my guy hits the ball to right field.
Ooh.
What do? I send him.
No.
I send him. He's thrown out by a mile.
Yeah.
Thrown out by a mile. 3rd out. Extra innings. I tell my team, hey, get me out of this. I messed up. Get me out of this. Don't worry, Coach. We'll get him. We'll get him. We didn't get him. We lost.
Really?
Yeah. So as is custom when we're home, we meet down the left field line.
Yeah.
Usually I run down. This time I walk down. And I wear sunglasses when I coach. I got there and I put my hands on my knees. I bent over, looked at the ground, and my tears were being caught by my glasses.
Yeah.
I told him, I'm sorry. I screwed up. You guys deserve that win, that record, and I messed up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And he said, Coach, my pitcher, he said, Coach, if I'd have pitched better, we would have won. My catcher said, if I gotten hit in the 3rd inning with the bases loaded, we'd have won.
Wow.
My center fielder said, if I wouldn't have missed that ball, my shortstop, if I wouldn't have made that error. My point is, if I would have been bad to these young men, they may not have said anything to me, but they just said to themselves, good for him. Because as a leader, you are going to mess up. You're going to mess up.
Yeah.
So, again, the first part of the book are some stories like that. The second part of the book.
Thank you for that story. I love that story. Because
there's a bunch of them like that.
I share this philosophy with a lot of people in life. I've learned more from my failures than my successes. We even talked about that before
There's
the
an
show.
old Barry Manilow song, I learned more from failure than I learned from success.
Yes,
yeah.
Great song,
and,
definitely.
And then the second part of the book is a bunch of great questions I've received over the past year and a half that I included.
What was the best one? What was the best question in your mind? I'm putting you on the spot because I know you're smart like that.
But I've never been asked that question. I've been asked about the first part of the book and the third part of the book, but not that question.
The talking machine comes through.
So I would say when somebody says to me, I'm not as open as you are, I'm not as talkative as you are, I'm not as affectionate as you are with my players, I'm not as open.
Yeah.
You know, my players know everything about me. I'm very emotional. I've cried in front of them. I got mad in front of them, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
He said, should I change to be more like you? I said, no.
Be yourself.
Be yourself.
Yeah.
You know, be yourself, because then if you try that, it's going to look fake.
Yeah.
So the second part, and I answer a lot of great questions, and I think they're good answers. And then the last part of the book is about 27, 28 former players that gave me referrals, and not referrals, but comments.
Yeah.
And I was just blown away.
Good and bad?
No bad.
Okay,
I wouldn't have included them anyway. But nobody. I said write whatever you want, but none of them wrote anything bad.
I'm about positivity, so I would have scratched those.
But so I think it's a really good book. I'm never happy with what I do. Every podcast I said, man, I could have been better. Or even this show, maybe I could have looked better. But in this book, I'm very happy with what you put into what I put in it. And like I said, I've got good feedback.
Well, let me interrupt you. It's heartfelt.
Well,
that's what I want to share.
I wrote it with my heart. I really did.
Yeah, and that's what I got from the beginning. Yeah. Heart up.
Yeah,
and that ties in with what I try to do.
Right.
I always try to get better on each show.
Yeah.
And I've been doing shows for almost 10 years now.
Yeah.
So I know I've improved because I watch back in the older shows.
The thing about you is, again, it's not scripted. You just from the heart, you ask questions, and that's what it's all about. And with me, like I said, and I don't embarrass.
But I listen. Hold on. I do talk, but I do listen.
I know that. But I'm not trying to embarrass anybody. We all make mistakes. And there's not a rule that says you have to like me. Those people who hired me, they had their reasons for not liking me, I'm sure.
Sure.
They're not true, but nonetheless, they had them.
And you've done many different things in life out there,
well,
so
but
I know
people
that.
are people, and that's okay. But I do think that and again, yes, it's titled "Lead from the Heart Up, Not the Neck Up: How to Create a Positive Winning Culture in the Field and in the Office." So it's not just on the field; it's really in the life.
No, and that's why I'm honored to have you as my second guest.
Thank you.
Because I'm all about positivity. Just look at what I post on Facebook and all these other things.
That's okay to be second. I think I was my wife's second choice too, so that's okay.
Ah, that's good.
I'm kidding.
I don't mind being number 2.
That's right.
I'm good with that.
Right.
And do you have a favorite story in the second half of the book that you have? Because I'm digging a little bit here.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story.
Give me that.
It was my first year.
Okay.
And this one kid, nice kid, about 6'4", glasses, big.
Yeah.
He looked like a student, but he's a great player too. He was late every single practice.
Wow.
Every single game. Now, at CMU, you have to be understanding because they get pounded with schoolwork.
Right.
But then I said, wait a minute, there's something. So finally I said, Chris, you cannot be late anymore. He said, Coach, before you go on, I won't be late. I'm very sorry. He said, you've been understanding. I've had different reasons to be late, but I'm not going to be late anymore.
Right.
I promise you.
Ooh.
I said, are you sure? He said, Coach, I promise. Okay. We have a game the next day. Everybody's supposed to be there at 8:30. He was there at 8, dressed, ready to go.
First time ever.
First time I said, Chris, thank you. He went like this. Didn't say, you're welcome, Coach. I told you. I said, okay. Fast forward maybe 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
I see him and he's dressed in a polo shirt. What are those shorts? Cargo shorts?
Yeah, cargo shorts.
And flip-flops and a backpack. I said, okay. Now he's trying to test me. Again, it's my first year at CMU.
Yeah.
He's trying to test me. I lost it. I snapped on him. I mean, I said everything. I got mad because now one of my rules is don't disrespect me or the team or anybody for that matter.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So I'm snapping on him.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at him at the door. I'm hollering at him. He's at the doorway.
Yeah.
And I'm giving it to him. And then for whatever reason, I went like this. I looked to my left. There was my player. He had a twin brother. Identical twin. And this kid didn't say a damn word to me. He didn't even go to school there. He was coming to see his brother. He said, what is this short Italian guy cussing me out for? And my team didn't say anything. They let me go.
Yeah.
Because
they know how you are.
Yeah. Although I got to say one more story. I mentioned the word polo. We have a young man. He's a great man. He stayed in Pittsburgh. His name is Samir Kalori.
Okay.
And from New Jersey. And his father comes up to me and he says, Coach, I want to thank you for everything you did for Samir and this, that, and that. I said, Samir is a dream to coach. He's a wonderful young man. The only thing he ever did bad was graduate because I wish he wouldn't have left. He's a great guy. I love him.
Right.
And his father saying all kind of things. Then I said, excuse me a second, Mr. Kalori. As soon as you walked in, I noticed this beautiful yellow pullover that you have.
Right.
Polo pullover.
Yeah.
And I said, it's a beautiful shirt. You start taking it off. I said, no, I don't want it. I just wanted to tell you how nice it was.
Yeah.
He gave me the shirt off his back.
The shirt off his back.
And that story's in the book as well.
Wow.
But basically, it's and real quick, I remember 1993. I was coaching a game.
We are getting close to the finish.
We were back and forth game. We win the game, and then my players were congratulating me. I said, why is it that these guys like me so much? I was 27. Because I care. And that's where this book started back in 1993.
Claudio, that is the perfect ending to this show. I'm supposed to hit 29 minutes. Look at this
ClaudioRosano.com. You can buy it on ClaudioRosano.com.
I was just going to ask that. You beat me to the question, so no question on that. You also talked more than I did, so you win the Talking Machine Award, and that's what I want my guests to do. Thank you, Claudio Rosano. My honor.
My honor.
You take care. Hope you enjoyed it, folks.